Indian Journal of Technical Education and Staff, and Educational Development International. He's been the editor of the Journal of the Steam and Fuel Users Association of India and the Journal of Plant Engineering. He is currently on the editorial board of International Journal of Engineering Education and the Journal of Engineering Education, published by the American Society for Engineering Education. He has published several papers, 50 papers in international journals and 150 papers in national journals, and has presented 100 papers in international conferences and 250 papers in national conferences. He has guided 14 PhD theses, 11 MS theses, and 21 MTech projects. He has delivered 100 convocation addresses, 25 endowment lectures, 200 inaugural and valedictory addresses, and 120 invited lectures. May I request Dr. Natarajan to please come forward for his address.
Thank you very much for your enthusiastic response. The reason why we do not come in the way of our CVs to be read is, it tells you that what I say has some credibility and some kind of a substance. That's the reason. If I was not all this, you need not believe what I'm saying. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. Rajan Saxena, Registrar Varsha Parab, Director of the Bangalore campus, Suresh Moni, my very good friend, Dr. Jayashankaran, Dr. Lakshminarayan, Madhukar, distinguished, I'll come to you later, distinguished families of the graduating students, distinguished invitees, and the real chief guests of today's function, that is the graduating students, because without you, we would all not be here wearing these special clothes and so on, isn't it? It's because of you that we have come together. As I start my convocation address, graduation ceremony address, I have three real disadvantages. First, the chief guest is not here, right? Second, Suresh Moni has delivered the convocation address. And third, I normally request the organizers when I address convocation addresses to have the address before the degrees are distributed. Now, of course, you're all confined. You cannot move out. But in the university system, as soon as the degrees are given, the parents, spouses, and the graduates, they all go out to have the photographs taken. So you have a very turbulent audience, and I have exhorted the students, look, I have traveled so much of distance and time to address you, so please give me 20 minutes. I won't speak for more than 20 minutes, which I assure you I will do today also. I have been associated with NMIMS from 2006, so past 6 years. What attracted me to NMIMS were two things. One was the enormous industry participation in whatever they are doing, in the Board of Management, in the Academic Council, and so on. And what NMIMS does is they take the advice given by the industry very seriously. Sometimes it causes problems. Industry, to the mind of academics like me, is rather narrowly focused. In your placement interviews, for example, they will probably not ask you about what you have studied. They will ask you about your personality, your other soft skills, as they call them, and so on. Their objective is to create products and offer services, and for that, your education is the foundation. But apart from that, they demand other things, and therefore, it is very difficult to incorporate those things into the curriculum. The second is the academic nature of the programs, the people who are the helm of affairs, and so on. I enjoy Dr. Rajan Saksena's academic council meetings. There is no dilution of quality. The meetings are very serious, but participative and democratic. You know, an example of how meetings should be conducted. They're rather long, of course, but therefore, you know, enjoy these things. And the Board of Management also, headed by the former Education Minister of Maharashtra, Amrishbhai Patel, very purposeful, very meaningful. Therefore, I enjoy these meetings. I have continued my association with them. I will mention a few notable features of NMIMS so that you can carry them with you. You can be proud of the fact that you have graduated from an institute which is held in high esteem in the country, with a great degree of credibility, which has brand value. All of you will understand what brand value is. Enlightened, ambitious, and action-oriented management. High-quality academic infrastructure. Good quality input of students. They try very hard to get good quality students. They have, of course, their own entrance tests. Good placements. Here, I'm very happy to see that 99% of you have got placements. Now, these days, we not only speak about the quantity of placements, the percentage, but also the quality of placements. Where you get placed is as important as the fact that everybody gets placed. And the rankings, the magazine rankings, there is a lot of substance in the magazine rankings. They are getting more and more sophisticated. 2011, 4th ranking by Business World, and 6th by Economic Times. These are very high rankings indeed, and on par with the IIMs. Well thought out plans for future expansion activities. Therefore, for these reasons, I am happy to associate myself with them. And I want you to understand that you are graduating from an institution of substance. Of course, apart from what Suresh Moni has said, I'll tell you a few things. The 21st century dawned about 12 years ago. And one of the distinguishing features of this 21st century, as has been pointed out, is both the magnitude as well as the velocity of change, the rate of change. They are so rapid that Alvin Toffler called it the future shock. Shock is impulses, sudden changes, and large changes. What are the implications of this rapid change? It lowers predictability, very difficult to plan for the future, increases uncertainty. I'll say a few more words about this a little later on. The future is not a simple extrapolation of the past or the present. Some unforeseen events I will tell you, and you may not remember some of these things which we never believed which actually would take place. And therefore, if we extrapolate into the future, things today that you don't believe will take place tomorrow, day after tomorrow. What are these 4 events I am fond of talking about? Unification of Germany. I've been to Germany when it was divided by a wall and fences and guards and guard dogs, East Germany and West Germany, particularly Berlin. Unification of Germany took place. Breakup of the USSR, one of the 2 great polarized powers in the world. Now, where is the USSR? Lifting of apartheid in South Africa. Remember Gandhiji's experiences, the experiences of a large number of people, sanctions against South Africa. They were not permitted to play cricket, if you know. Now we have South Africans playing in the IPL. And in our own country, the lifting of the license permits large. We never believed that this would happen. Read about the experiences of all the switch companies, the great IT companies. Switch, you know what it is, Satyam, Wipro, Infosys, TCS, Cognizant, and HCL. Very difficult to import computers, very difficult to export software services, a whole lot of problems. Fortunately, since 1991, these things don't exist. Therefore, change is all around us. I'm trying to prove to you. I am so convinced that you must recognize this that I have a few more examples. In addition to this change I'm talking about, there are other distinctive characteristics of the new millennium. Population explosion, a very serious problem. Depletion of natural resources, energy and materials, environmental degradation, demand for mass education, significant impacts of technology and everything around us, on society, on commerce, on lifestyle, on education, entertainment, widening of disparities in society. In order to enjoy the fruits of economic development, industrial development, you need to have social cohesion, social peace. But you see, look at the newspapers and you see that many people are unhappy about what things are. I have a list of 2 things here, 2 lists here. One, things we don't have today, which we had 30 years ago. Again, to tell you about the change that we are all living in. Many of them are engineering examples. Steam engines, you have to go to museums to see them. Slide rule mechanical calculators that were being used. Even to make calculations for the Manhattan Project, it was the mechanical calculators which are being used. Typewriters, vacuum tubes, silent movies, although one of them has won the Oscar. The vinyl records and spool and cassette tapes. They're all, I just threw out about a couple of years ago, a whole lot of videotapes and spools that I collected over a period of time with very good music, but I cannot use them. In terms of behavioral and social entities, joint families and inhibitions are a thing of the past. Good thing in health, for instance, smallpox has been eradicated, polio has been eradicated, malaria had been eradicated. You know, when we used to travel some 20-25 years ago, you had to get an anti-malaria, anti-smallpox certificate. That was a separate yellow book. You no longer have to do that. The other list is a very, very, very long list. Things we have today which we didn't have 30 years ago. All the ICT developments, whether it is the PCs or the cell phones or the internet, fax machines, color televisions, iPods, pads, phones, CD-ROMs, laser discs, one-day cricket. Now, then it became 50-over cricket, now it's T20 cricket. 25 years ago, there was a huge outcry against the introduction of one-day cricket. It was an Australian, I forget his name at the moment, who introduced it against a lot of outcry. Lead-free petrol. 20 years ago, lead-free petrol was not available. It was considered to be too expensive to distribute. 24-hour television. You will not believe this. You ask your parents. You had television for 4 hours in the morning, 4 hours in the afternoon. Black and white television. It was the Asian Games which brought the color television here. Cloud computing, a whole lot of things. Therefore, what I'm trying to tell you is that things have changed, and they're going to continue to change. Many people have tried to predict the future. And if you have read Arthur C. Clarke, you know, he points out that experts find it very difficult to predict the future. They underestimate the pace of change. Science fiction writers, of course, will overestimate it. I'll give you some examples. These are called the Pedals of Prophecy that Newsweek brought out about 20-25 years ago. The title was Cloudy Days in Tomorrowland, Flops of 20th Century Futurology. I'll mention a few of them. Wilbur Wright, the US aviation pioneer, I confess that in 1901, I said to my brother Orville that a man would not fly for 50 years. Ever since, I have distracted myself and avoided all predictions. He said this in 1901. 1903 was the first manned flight. A few more examples, very interesting ones. The horse is here to stay, but the automobile is only a novelty, a fad. This is an advice of a president of the Michigan Savings Bank, the advice given to Henry Ford's lawyer not to invest in the Ford Motor Company. The former British Prime Minister David Lloyd George said in 1934, "Believe me, Germany is unable to wage war." A couple of years later, the war started. And this is really funny. The US Commissioner of Patents in 1899, Charles Duell, said, Commissioner of Patents, "Everything that can be invented has been invented." Why would anybody want to do this? Kenneth Olson, president and founder of Digital Equipment Corporation, 1977, it no longer exists. There is no reason for any individuals to have a computer in their home, right? I mean, he was an IT specialist. A couple more. Popular